Welcome to the Maritime Lemonade Stand. In the 400 plus days I've been on the boat, 340 of which were actually in the boatyard, not actually on the water. I've never had as tough a days as I have for the past kind of 10 days. Let's start out with Hurricane Joaquin. I don't know what you know about hurricanes, but they suck. Flooding, extreme flooding. Rest of the area was the same. Roads closed, grocery stores closed. Boatyard was actually even worse. And before some of you smart asses are like, well, aren't you glad you're on a boat if there's flooding? No, because the water goes up and down depending on which way the wind blows. And so you're out there checking your lines, your ropes, and you're checking to make sure that some big boat that was put next to you doesn't ram into you. Not a lot of fun. No sleep for about 3 days. Just the sounds. I mean, this is a little boat, so the sounds of the wind and the water and the creaking of the ropes and the fenders, the bumpers outside. It was really, really tough. It finally dried up, so I decided to be somewhat productive and put the mainsail up. We're looking at sea trials here starting in a few weeks, and so I got out the big sail and went to go put it on the mast, and it doesn't fit. The slugs are basically the the little track pieces. I don't know what you call them. They didn't fit the mast, so I was looking at either getting those taken off by the sailmaker and some new ones put back on, or somebody suggested a cheaper option of just putting a kind of a black plastic track up the mast so that my sail fit. I'm not getting too technical here, I hope. So I said, yeah, sure, a little black piece of 36 feet long, which is what my mast cost, $800, and that's not even the install. So I obviously have to go for the sailmaker. Don't know what that's going to cost, but nothing on a boat is cheap. So I decided that I was gonna turn this frown upside down, and I was gonna sand and stain the teak. The poor old girl hasn't had any love since last year, so I was gonna, what? I'm gonna make her look pretty, then we're gonna get everything on her. She's gonna look beautiful, and then we're gonna go and have adventures. So I start sanding, and I get to the bowsprit, which is basically the front of the boat, kind of the wooden nose. And sanding around, I said, I see a little wet spot, so I take a screwdriver and I'm kind of excavating it, and it's it's a decent size. So I go to the woodworker here and I'm like, hey, can we just cut that out and put some new wood in it, some epoxy, and make it strong again? And he was like, I got to be honest, take it off first so we can see how bad the damage is, and then we can fix it. So I said, okay. So I unscrewed it, and I basically, this is what I found. The entire thing was rotten, like to the core. How it was still hanging on is beyond me. I was pulling out pieces with my hand, and at first I was livid. And like, had I gone out and opened up the head sail, the front sail, the wind would have pulled my entire rigging, mast, lines, bow sail. My boat would have been fucked. Or if I would have dropped the anchor, okay, that would have taken off the front part of my boat. So incredibly dangerous. But then I was, yes, it's a lot of money, and yeah, I'm looking at another $1,500 just to get this thing replaced. But I was thankful that we actually found it before I went out, so it was kind of a roller coaster of that. So I decided to focus on my motor. Okay, sails at the sailmaker, bowsprit is at the woodworker. So I'm going to get the engine, get her warmed up, get her ready for this crazy adventure we're about to have. If you remember last year, they had to take the engine out and basically rebuild it and put it back in. That cost me about $8,000. So I go to turn the key to hear my diesel, and there was nothing. $8,000 back in the boat. My diesel doesn't work, so I had it. I lost it. I mean, I walked into the office and I just started, what is going on? I paid you guys. The diesel doesn't run. What kind of racket are you moving here and stuff like that? And the boatyard owner started to get a little defensive, so he started throwing it back at me, and we're like two grown men shouting at each other. And finally he's like, I said, I'm sorry, what else do you want? I was like, I want to stop paying for an engine that I thought was fixed. And he was like, of course you're not gonna have to pay for it. Like, our guys we're not charging you. And then I don't know what to do with all this rage in my heart right now. So I had to get out of there. I had to cool off. It just got to me, those three things, the weather, it got to me. And so I went over to my best friend Don's house, and I kind of unloaded on him, just like all this stuff is going on. And his advice for me was, I need to get away for a week or so, and so he insisted that I go down to Key West to some party called Fantasy Fest. Never heard of it before, but he said anybody who's a sailor definitely needs to attend.
It's a phenomenal event. It's freaky, it's wild, it's crazy, it's unlike anything you've ever seen or done. Key West is a wild and crazy town.
So I'm going to have a good time.
No, you won't have it.
So there you go. Taking off next week for Key West. Going to go on an adventure. I need it. I'm sure you need it. It'll be nice for you to, see some things in a travel show that are travel related. I'm sure Lonely Planet's going to be very happy because I don't think they're in the business of showing Aric moans about his boat weekly shows. But it's going to get better. It's got to get better. Like I'm literally running out of things to replace on the boat. So I guess that's going to be my silver lining in a very dark, expensive, wet, frustrating cloud that it is. So more next from Key West. No, I need a cocktail. If you can't tell already by the pathetic, slightly inebriated hosting going on here, this is not going to be your typical show. And I want to show you actually from the beginning what happens when you sell everything and try to sail around the world, and the ups and the downs and the sunsets and the hangovers.